I know there's this new inclusive diversity thing that they're trying to bring into the world.
I think we go. At the end of the day, we're going mad enough about having women in football. Come on.
That's to be honest. Yeah, we're struggling with that. We're struggling with that.
Let's be quite honest about it. We hate it. It's they're just so not in the. They're in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's ridiculous. You know, there's really a lot of good ex-players as well, good people out of work,
brilliant pundits,
and absolutely brilliant pundits. And then you've got these girls on there, and fair play to them. Some of them don't even, you know. If it was in America, they'd all look $1 million, you know. But some of these, you think,
we're getting the old ones out of Coronation Street, really, aren't we, some of these birds.
And East Enders. But they don't, you know.
But you can't blame the girls. They're getting the jobs. You know what I mean? They're gonna.
But would we do it in a woman's game? Come on.
Nah, not really. Well, I don't know. If the money was right, I'd swallow it, I suppose.
You wouldn't need to go if you wouldn't.
But I just got no issue with them on the women's game.
No.
Right? But as a working class bloke who's followed football all my life, I just want to see some proper ex-footballers talking about the game with a bit of banter, how we understand it. And it's just gone a bit too, well, I don't know what it is now.
Look,
I don't actually know what I'm watching anymore.
Bren, when the girls won the Euros, it was absolutely unbelievable, brilliant.
Yeah.
And I always said, when Southgate messed up at Wembley against Italy, if we'd have had the girls' manager, we'd have won it.
Yeah.
Because her idea of football is good.
Yeah.
But come on, don't mess in our game. We call it our game because it is our game, it's a men's game. And I always say, when it comes to one of the greatest sportswomen of all time was Billie Jean.
Billie Jean King, yeah.
And what she done for women's tennis was phenomenal. But she never poked her nose in the men's game. And I think that just about sums it up.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't do it in our game, in the men's game. You see it on Saunders. Roy Keane and Saunders are sitting there in the studio. They're two really smart men,
hard men,
proper,
footballers,
and know about the game.
Yeah.
Fantastic players, fantastic footballers, both of them. And they're sitting there with two girls, and they want to say so.
Yeah.
They really want to say so, but they can't.
So why haven't you done more punditry?
Why haven't you done more? Because you'd be so good at it, Alan.
He won't dress up as a woman, that's why.
That what it is?
No makeup, man.
No makeup.
No makeup. No, Richard Keys let me down. I had a few words with Dave Bassett on Sky one night, and he said something about England will play in an international, and he said we should play the way our club football plays, and I said, what, like Wimbledon? And I went in the dressing room afterwards, the makeup room where he do all the makeup, and he was standing in the corner with Richard Keys, and I never got on again. And I phoned Richard Keys up and I said, what's all this about? And he went, oh, you will be on.
No, just blanked you, brushed you off.
So I'm glad they got the sack, the pair of them.
Do you think footballers just stand up for each other? I mean, there was a bit in your book you were talking about Jerry Francis. Didn't stand up for you when in the England setup. Was that right?
Well, I can only say that I think it was my roommate when I played against West Germany, and I woke up. I was watching Cheltenham because it was in March, and fell asleep. I woke up and he was gone, but I thought that a bit strange because it had been the other way round. And then he ended up captain England. If that had been me, Jerry Francis had been woke up and he might have said something to Revie, where's, or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't a good time to be captain of England then, though, was it? It wasn't a great era for
Well, not under him. I wouldn't want to be his captain anyway. I didn't really want to play under him. I just wanted to prove that I could play against West Germany, otherwise I wouldn't have bothered.
Did you enjoy the bingo sessions in the afternoon and the carpet bowls?
No, we were around someone's house at that time, having a few drinks. Bernie Winters, I think it was.
Snorbit.
He would have been a good manager. He could have been a manager for England. There was another thing you wrote about Jimmy Hill. You weren't a fan of a lot of these people like Jimmy Hill. You were telling you how to play the game, as it were.
Well, I think with Jimmy Hill it was mainly because I was a Fulham supporter and I see how he played the game. And I was we had the great Johnny Haynes, but and then on BBC, I remember one game I played in at Newcastle for Stoke, and I remember coming home and I went back to my house in Stoke and put the match of the day on because I played that well. I really played out of my skin, and I thought I've got to watch this tomorrow to see if I'm not kidding myself, you know. All right, match of the day and all that. And I went up the pub and I went into the village. I went into the village and I had it go today. I said they could see that I was full of myself. Yeah, because that's how you get when you played that well. And I watched match of the day when I got in. I had a few drinks at home and watched it, and I thought, what's gone wrong here? I didn't hardly touch the ball. And Jimmy Hill spoke about it, and I spoke to my father in the morning. He was at Newcastle, and I said, "Did you watch that last night?" He said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "I've just read the morning papers, and Len Shackle and give you 10 out of 10." He said, "No, I think Len Shackle knows a little bit more than Jimmy Hill." So that put things in his perspective.
Anything else you would ask him? The legend that is Alan Hudson.
No, listen, I'd just like to say it's an honour, Alan, to always get to speak to you. I really enjoy it, and I just love the way you can roll out some wicked stories for the game, and I think we should do more. The players like Alan have got they're the history of the game that's unspoken.
Legends, yeah.
And I just think it's a shame that they're not given more airtime, and we don't, you know, we're missing out in this country. Footballers,
so much knowledge, so much fun.
Fun. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I've got one more question actually, but I don't know if you want to answer this one. This is, did you get stick talking about a paedophile in the Chelsea? He was a Chelsea scout.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
No, I didn't get no stick.
No.
I was asked by a journalist or whatever why didn't I come forward about a fella called Eddie Heath.
Can we say his name?
Yes. Yeah. His name was Eddie Heath, and he was a scout when I was a young kid, doing the Tuesday, Thursday night training and all that. He never come. I said there was nothing to say about him because they said, why didn't he interfere with you? And if he'd have come within a yard of me, my father would have
dealt with it. Yeah.
No matter how big he was about 6'2", 6'3". Yeah. And that's why he didn't come near me. Yeah. And we do know that these people go after vulnerable kids, and I wasn't vulnerable. Yeah. I was a kid from Chelsea.
Maybe you weren't his cup of tea.
Maybe his cup of coffee. But people, you know, when you're a happy-go-lucky kid and you don't know, I kind of said to the fella, he said, "Did you know about him?" I said, "Well, the only thing I knew about him, what I could tell you about him, was that he always used to be in the dressing room when the kids had no clothes on. You know, after training, coming in the showers, out in the bath, he was always around then, and you get a bad feeling about that. What you doing in here now? You know, leave the boys alone." You know, it's a song, isn't it? Leave the kids alone. But, you know, it's always about that time, you know, flicking towels, you know, and all this, and with young kids. We were 12, 13, you know.
On a more light-hearted note.
Yeah, we don't end on that one.
Yeah, well, I remember, you'll probably remember it, but there was a player called, he's gone out of my head now, but he came to, Alan Simonson, right? He came to Charlton from Barcelona.
Was he Danish?
Yeah, and he was replaced by Maradona. Right?
What, at Charlton?
No, at Barcelona. But Barcelona, someone at Charlton convinced him he'd been the European Player of the Year, I think 2 years before. Right? And someone at Charlton convinced him to come to Charlton when they were in the second division. Right? And it's in the top 10 weirdest transfers of all time. But
I remember him going there,
Yeah, he came to Charlton, and I mean, I spoke to Derek Howes and interviewed him about him before, and he said it was really funny because he said he was so far ahead of everyone in the team.
Oh,
He said we
yeah.
didn't even know what he was doing.
Yeah.
But he went, seeing him at Scunthorpe on a Tuesday night, he said, running up the wing, he said we always used to stop off for fish and chips and a light ale, and he'd be having like an orange juice. But I just wondered if we could have ever tempted you out at Charlton. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I'd have signed for Charlton. Yeah, absolutely.
Could still
The
play
Valley,
now.
the Valley.
Yeah,
do
you'd
well
probably
now.
get in the team now.
I'd have played for Kirbyshley every day, mate.
Definitely, yeah. He was
Yeah.
what a terrific manager.
Yeah,
George was,
absolutely. And he's. I'm due to have drinks with him, Alan. He's
brilliant.
great.
Well,
great guy.
hopefully, Al, I'll tempt you to come to the Valley next season with us.
Well,
for a day.
yeah, we've been a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I know
haven't we?
you've had a couple of issues where you couldn't get
Right
there,
off,
but
yeah.
I really hope that next season they keep telling us.
Maybe the week of the game I'll come instead of 9 months notice.
Yeah.
But I'm dead.
I got a final thing. Blue is the colour. You sang on that record?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Any memories of that?
Yeah, I remember my son was born the night before. He's Alan now, he's 40 odd. And I remember getting very, very drunk that night with my best friend Leslie May and Terry Mancini, the old QBR player, was
Mancini,
out with us that night. And we wet his head, we drowned him and brought him back to life. And then the next morning we went in the recording studio and Osgood threw me out for being too drunk. And we got the number 5, we'd have got the number 1, wouldn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Had we won the final, we'd have probably got the number 1.
Yeah. Well, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on. I mean, you're so entertaining.
Brilliant, Al. It's an absolute honour and a pleasure. Yeah. And I'm going to drag you over the Valley next season at some point. Yeah. We'll get you there somehow.
I've never been to Wales.
Al, thank you.
Thanks very much. The genius that is Alan Hudson.